In his first book in Persian, he says, why would it be better to have a law composed by a bunch of syphilitic men over a law in Quran composed by God? That was his vision in 44. That was his vision in 1969. He had written all of this. He was very clear. The only time he taqiyed, or khud'at, as he said himself, and chose a line different than what his own record indicated, was in the month before the revolution. In his Paris period, he had a democratic period where he changed virtually everything he had said before. But even then, to his credit, every time he changed his view, he changed it in a way that left him room to later renege. He always put a little clause, but nobody wanted to pay attention to those clauses. Everybody was looking for a leader who could fill this role, and Ayatollah Khomeini filled the bill. The Americans and the British decided late in October, early November 1978 that the Shah cannot stay. We can pinpoint to the day when the Americans and the British decided the Shah cannot stay. When they decided he could not stay, they looked for an opposition force that could do for the country what they wanted. Hold the country together, sell oil, keep the Soviets out, and deliver some semblance of democracy. Ayatollah Khomeini architected for himself a persona in late 1978 that fit that profile. And he went one step further. He wrote a letter to Carter saying basically that this is what you want and we will give it to you. Get the army to stop supporting Bakhtiyar, and we are the only force that can deliver what you want. Now, why did Khomeini and religion emerge as the only alternative? This goes back to the Shah's policies. The Shah believed, I think in retrospect, wrongly, that his main strategic threat came from first and foremost the communists, and second, the nationalists. And furthermore, he believed, again I think very erroneously, that in this battle, his allies are the religious forces. That's why from the day he ascended to the throne, literally from day one, he changed his father's policy of animosity towards the clergy. He began a policy of rapprochement with the clergy. He sent Zayn al-Abidin Rahnama to get Ayatollah Khomeini to come back to Iran, and gave him everything Khomeini was asking for. Khomeini wanted the back. He wanted an end to co-education in school, he got it. He wanted Shariat taught at every school under the supervision of the clergy. He got it. And he demanded, in the tone that is remarkable from the Prime Minister, that the Shah has given all of these things, who the hell are you to stop? From that moment on, the Shah allowed only one force to organize it. That was the clergy. That was the religious forces. The number of mosques built in Iran in the last decade of the Shah's rule is the largest increase for the entire period for which we have statistics. And this is not including the Hosseiniyyahs, the taqiyas, the ad hoc religious places that were built during the months of mourning. This does not include religious camps. This does not include the fact that they were allowed to build a school that trained students from K1 to 12 with their curriculum. The only force allowed to train its cadres on its own were the religious. Madrasa Rafah. Shariati was brought to Mashhad University under the pressure from Sarat because they believed this is the antidote to communism and this is the antidote to nationalism. he believed that the moderates, like Shariat Madari, might control this network that was being built. This incredibly sophisticated network. But what he failed to understand is what many other countries failed to understand. The United States made the same mistake even after Iran in Afghanistan. In these organizations, in times of crisis, it's not the moderates that can win, it's the radicals that win. It's the radicals that are the most organized and the most prone to use violence. And that network was used not by Shariat Madari, but by Ayatollah Khomeini. And when the country went into crisis, as it did, he became the only alternative both the Iranian Democrats found and the US and Britain found. It was a choice all three lived to regret. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Milani. Are you ready to take some questions?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
My question is, if you could walk us through the economic dislocations of the Shah's later years and how they contributed to regime change, and maybe compare it to trends in the contemporary Iranian economy, and whether those are politically harbingers for change.
I think there are two kinds of economic, in my view, there are two kinds of economic factors that need to be taken into account. One are gross inequalities that existed in Iran during the Shah. Now, the fact is, the statistical fact, I think, show beyond